Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Are you tired of this reality? Us too. How about once a week you take a break and visit a different reality? In Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex, we bring you a comedy podcast full of ghosts, werewolves, gentle vampires, and Frankenstein monstrosities made of 72 people stitched together. And somehow, that's not even the strange stuff. A proud member of the Podmoth Network. Every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Damn, imagine being stuck on Earth because you suck so hard.
Imagine being Hello, Hauntlings. My name is Alyssa, here with my ghoulishly gorgeous wife and co-host, Lindsay. This is Macabre at Midnight, where we rate all things that sit on a scale, starting with the adorably spooky and ending with the truly disturbing. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the Sluagh.
Ooh, those are types of fairies, aren't they?
They are a type of fairy. They are a type of fae folk.
But first...
Holy cow. Yeah, but first...
Is there some other things you want to tell our loyal listeners?
Yeah, hi, we're back. Sorry, guys.
We took a unexpected break.
Yeah, like from everything. From everything. The thing is, it was summer vacation, so all the kids in the family, we were spending basically our only days off together with the kids, and we were doing a lot of other stuff and things, but we're back now. So, and we might have an editor. So if this episode sounds a little different, it's because we have handed this guy creative freedom. I hate editing. You all know that.
Yes, then that is part of why sometimes we have hiccups on our delays, because Alyssa's schedule gets so packed full with everything.
Yep. So with that said, if we sound a little different or this sounds a little off kilter, we did rearrange our recording setup for the night because I didn't want to pull the table out of the closet. I'm very tired. And every night for like the last 2 weeks, I've told Lindsay, I'm going to stay up so that we can record. But guys, I am very tired. So...
Yes, that's another hiccup we have been running into is scheduling issues. She's on an opposite shift as I am.
I am on an opposite shift of Lindsay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's that. And you guys know that, though. We've told you guys that. We are still going to do the giveaways. I know in our last episode, like a month ago, we mentioned the giveaways. We are still going to be doing those. I will have the links in this episode's show notes. If you go down there, we will be giving away some Macabre at Midnight merch. And then, of course, those cute little Bigfoot, Yeti, best friend keychains.
So essentially, we're just picking up where we left off.
Yeah, basically. So
back to your scheduled programming.
Guys, this episode might be a little bit shorter than usual. This is an episode request, and everything that I found on these guys is a little, I don't know. I didn't want to get repetitive. I delved as deep as I could, but I really could not find like a whole lot of extra. So this episode might be just a hair shorter, but we've said that before and managed to meet the mark, so we'll find out. But before we get into it, I think that we decided on our last episode we're going to start doing some icebreakers, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So, Lindsay, do you have an icebreaker for us today?
I do. I want you to tell me what the last thing you sent to someone was in a message.
In a message?
Yes, your last message sent. I would say text message, but you and I both know that is not our main form of media.
Okay. The last message that I sent to someone I sent you a picture of a flow chart that I had to do for my classes. It was a flow chart about, oh no, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. It was a message that said, come here with Brooke dustpan and bag pulls. I was asking for the broom and the dustpan and a bag, but I typoed really badly. So that was the last thing that I sent you.
That's beautiful.
That was the last. I was in the bathroom. She was in the living room, and I couldn't get out of there. I was cleaning up dog hair.
You want to know what mine was?
Yeah.
So I sent in a group message a picture of our little makeshift setup here.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did.
Oh, God.
And it said, going back on the air after an unexpected break. Smiley face.
All right. Well,
I'll be back to do things after.
Well, I hope that they come and listen. So we are back on air. And hopefully we have a new editor. All right, we'll get into it. We won't waste any more of your guys' time. I think we've got the gist of everything out of the way. So today we are going across the ocean to Ireland and Scotland.
Ooh.
So
One of my favorite places.
two. Those are two places.
Yes.
So I'm actually Irish. Lindsay is Scottish.
That's right.
So we're going to be looking at some lore from both of these places. So we all know that the Irish people and the Celtic people, they have a long time history tied into like fairy folklore, right? So when a lot of people think of fairies, they think of Tinkerbell and like those pretty little things I have sitting in teacups out in the living room with flowers and glitter, and they grant wishes. What did she say in the movie Labyrinth? She said, well, I thought fairies did nice things like grant wishes, right?
Bit me.
What did you expect fairies to do?
I thought they did nice things, like granting wishes.
Huh? Shows what you know, don't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's generally what people think of fairies. Now, the fae folk are much, much, much different than what we generally consider. These things are nasty, okay?
There's also lots of different types of fairies.
There are. You've got like bogarts, you've got brownies, gnomes, you have the Seelie and the Unseelie court, which is in a lot of popular fiction. And so the thing about the fairies is, personally, I believe in the fairy folk. You know, I am pagan. So a lot of us pagan folks who believe in the fairies believe that when you work with them, you have to be very careful. They are very particular. You know, they take things very literally. You have to know.
I have heard that with fairies, you have to give them some kind of offering.
Yeah, so you have... Well, I mean, it's that way with a lot of things. But, yeah.
Well, that's just like so they don't like take your things that you don't want taken.
Yeah, that... They will, like, take your stuff and, like, hide your stuff. Generally, you don't want to invite them into your house. But today, we're going to focus on a very specific type of fairy. These fairies were actually feared by even the other fairy folk. Okay, so these guys are, like, scary. And some people today in the Celtic lands still believe that these guys exist. Now, I'm talking about the Sluagh, who are also known as the, I think it's Sidhe, I think is how it's said. Do you know Sidhe?
Yes, that is the
Sidhe?
that is the correct pronunciation of that, I believe.
So they're also called the Sluagh Sidhe. They're also called the Underfolk. Or in Scotland, they're known as the Wild Hunt. You may have heard of that.
I have. But maybe you should explain it to our listeners.
I will. So the Sluagh translates to the host of the unforgiven dead. That's what that means. It also means like army or horde. Now, it's said, and I'm just going to mention this because I don't get really like too far into this part of the lore, but if you see the Wild Hunt, when it's known as the Wild Hunt, seeing the Wild Hunt may be an omen for war or disaster. Okay. Now, as a general rule, The Sluagh are evil fairies in Celtic folklore. The Irish believed that these entities rode with dogs at night and that they would steal the spirits of the recently departed, turning them into dogs to add to their pack.
You know, that's kind of disturbing. That
Yeah.
You say that. well, I'm just thinking of the time that we suspected that we had an encounter with one of these creatures.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yes, that was when my dog was dying. And we will get further into the people dying with these guys, but why do you say that's interesting?
Well, because as some people may or may not know, there is a open portal in our house, which allows the recently deceased souls through.
Yes.
So I wonder if that's why it ended up here.
Well, no, I don't think so, and I'll explain that later on, because that portal is on the south side of our house.
Okay, so it has something to do with directional.
It does, and we'll get further into that as we go.
Okay.
So the Celtic people believed that the souls of the dead who would these were the souls of the dead who would travel through the skies in a crescent shape, much like birds. So sometimes these guys, when they were in flocks, were said to just look like wings and shadow and could be mistaken for a flock of crows or ravens. Now, how do these guys look? These guys they're humanoid. Okay. I know you can't hear her reacting, but her face is reacting.
Oh no, I'm just waiting to hear if
What it looks like.
if it matches up with what I think was here in the house. So,
Well, why don't you tell me what
what I saw?
Yes, tell me what you saw and then I'll tell you.
Okay, so I just mentioned that I suspect that one of these things visited our house once
Yes.
before. I say that because one night I had woken up out of sleep. I don't even remember if I was dreaming or what, but when I woke up, I saw something crouched on the floor,
Okay.
at the end of our bed.
You.
And I stared at it for a minute, and then it stood up. Mm-hmm. And when it stood up, it had these really long, skinny legs, and it looked like it had wings that were all black and feathery. And then it had all I could see of its face were these giant eyes,
It's Momo.
and it was just staring at me. And I just rolled over and tried to ignore it because I was like, nope, no, I'm not dealing with that. I don't know what that is.
That sounds like you remember that freaking Momo thing?
Yes.
That's what I imagine. Oh my god. I think that thing was on little legs too, wasn't it? Just little legs.
It had long, sticky legs. It was weird.
The Momo thing? I'm talking about.
Yes.
It did?
Yes.
Ooh.
And so did this thing.
Oh no.
But I don't really know what it was. All I could describe it as was being bird-like.
Bird-like how?
I mean, like I said, it had or what I assumed were wings, or its body looked like it was covered in dark feathers.
Okay. What did the wings look like? Let me ask you that.
They were just large, dark, bird wings, almost crow-like. I don't know. They were kind of folded up, it was covering itself, covering its body. So it's kind of folded. You can't see the position I'm in, but I'm doing T-Rex arms with my arms. That's sort of what it was doing with its arms.
Okay. Well, I've never seen a Sluagh, but I do have the description of them here. So, these guys are generally very thin. They're said to have really thin, pale skin. And it's their bones, you can see their bones through the skin. Okay?
That makes sense because I couldn't really recall a face.
Their hair is in patches on their head. It's long and it hangs down around their face in wafts. It's stringy and greasy and black, and it covers their bird-like faces. They have beak-like faces with messed up teeth, and they generally have leathery wings that hug their body like a cloak.
Okay. All right. Well,
Well, we're not dead, so that's good.
no, but I don't know why it was here.
I would suggest that maybe also, human spirits, when they die, if they're negative, they can project themselves to look a certain way.
Yes.
So it could have also been that, because generally whenever, and we'll get into this, the sleuth, they're just not easy to get rid of. Okay. And we do have that portal, so, I believe you saw something, but I don't necessarily, based on my research, think that it was the Sluagh. But I don't know. I don't know. So back into it. These guys would travel through the skies in what looked to be a crescent shaped like birds. Now, eventually, Christianity came in, and these things were kind of perceived as, instead of fairies or fae, they were perceived to be the spirits of either unforgiven sinners who were so evil that they couldn't even go to hell.
Damn, imagine being stuck on Earth because you suck so hard.
Imagine being stuck on Earth because you suck so
I'd
hard.
be like, hey, you know what's worse than burning in an eternal blaze?
Earth.
Being stuck on Earth forever.
I mean, isn't that kind of like the idea? The idea with like lost souls, though. Well, I guess these are lost souls. Never mind. So, the other thought is that maybe these were the get ready for this. The vengeful souls of unbaptized children seeking revenge on those who didn't make sure that they were cleansed for heaven.
That's a mouthful.
Well, I also think it's a little far-fetched.
Yeah, that just sounds like you're just making shit up at that point.
Right. But yeah, the Christian view of it was that it was either unbaptized children or the souls of sinners who were like trying to drag people to hell, which is contradictory in itself, because were they too bad to go to hell, or were they dragging people to hell? Which one was it? I don't know.
Right.
But whatever. Now, these guys will take anyone who crosses their path. Sometimes the Sluagh were known to like help people, but not very often. Okay, which I think we've heard that with the sirens too. Wasn't that the sirens would sometimes help people?
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was the sirens. It was the little people that live in.
Oh yeah.
in Alaska.
Okay, never mind. Ignore. Wait, but they were also like fae.
Yeah, they're thought
Yeah.
to be like fae.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
fae-like.
So these guys might help you, but generally not gonna happen. Okay. They generally want to take you away forever. They want to suck your soul out through a straw in your nose. Now, these guys are usually known to come around on very stormy and windy nights. So, thunder, spooky trees, all of that, like your typical Halloween spooktacular. Okay, that's when these guys are coming around. And it is said that you should keep the windows and the doors on the west side of your house latched at all times during this bad weather. Some people would even keep their doors and windows latched just on the west side of their house just all year long. Now, if you don't, then these guys can enter your home. The reason that it needs to be done on the west side of your house, the reason that those are the windows you have to keep closed, is because these guys travel from the west, which is the direction of the British Isles, which is where it is believed that the dead live. Okay? Now, if your windows are open and you have elderly people, or sick people, or dying people, these things will enter your home and take their souls.
So they essentially are like the Grim Reapers of the Fae world.
Yeah, except they're not delivering you to the other side.
They're just taking them.
So yeah, basically, yeah, if the Grim Reaper went rogue and decided he was kidnapping, that's what this is. They will also, if you're considered to be hopeless of heart, they're drawn to that. So if they catch scent of your hopeless, broken heart, okay, which we all go through grief. We all go through despair. That's just part of human life, we all experience these things. But the Sluagh are drawn to it. So people who are truly despaired risk these things coming and taking their souls.
Well, if you have depression, then you might want to keep your windows locked.
Right. Or, if you've lost someone or your heart has been broken. The last way for these guys to come at you is if you say their name.
Like if you say Sluagh or...
Yeah, if you say Sluagh.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, though, we've said a lot of names that we're not supposed to say.
Yeah, don't come to my house tonight, please.
None of you.
Because it's supposed to storm or something today or tonight.
Are you serious?
I think so. It was looking pretty rainy out there earlier, so I don't know.
Well, maybe it missed us. Maybe the Sluagh are already on their way to, Ohio.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, anyway, yeah. These guys are particularly active on Samhain. And for those of you who don't know what Samhain is the Celtic celebration in which the veil between the worlds is the thinnest. At this time, you can speak to your deceased loved ones. People will have dumb suppers where they put food out for the dead. This night in America, and I believe in other countries, is known as Halloween. Now, in order to avoid these things on Samhain, which is spelt Samhain, for those of you who don't know, it's said not to have any outdoor fires, which that's a big thing. You do that on Halloween.
That's very popular amongst anybody who celebrates Halloween.
Right. We've done it. I think
yeah, we did it last year. Just
right. So, yeah, but don't burn a fire outside. Because they see it and it will summon them. So how do you get rid of these guys? You want to guess?
Your typical cleansing won't do it?
No.
Oh boy, then I'm not sure.
So in order to get rid of a Sluagh, you can do one of two things. You can either sacrifice someone else.
Or move.
Well...
Do they follow you?
Yeah.
Ah.
So you can either... I wasn't even on to the next part. So you can either sacrifice someone else's life in place of your life, okay?
You kill them, or...
Well, I don't know how it's done. I don't know if you just, tell them, go get that guy.
Hey, you wanna move in and be my roommate? And then you dip?
You just, put some boards across the door and nail them in. Sorry. I gotta go to the store.
Gotta go get some milk. Never comes back.
God. But the other way to do this, to get them off of your tail, is to run and hide really good. Be really good at hide and seek.
Hide where?
I don't know.
So you could move, but then you would have to make it so it's somewhere where they couldn't find you.
Oh, I don't think that's how that works. Because so when they're described as finding you, it's they get your scent. So you got to keep going forever.
You know what that reminds me of? Have you
the mafia?
No. Maybe, but I was going to say a movie. Have you heard of the movie called It Follows? It's a horror movie.
I don't know. I don't know if I have or not. It sounds familiar.
So the whole premise of this movie is there's something out there following you that wants to kill you, and it will not stop until it kills you.
Isn't that Final Destination?
No, because this thing possesses people. This entity possesses people, and they legitimately just follow you.
Is it a good movie?
It's pretty intense.
Is it gory?
I don't think so. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's more of a thriller.
Oh man, I want to watch it now.
But yeah, and the only way to save yourself is to pass it on to someone else.
Oh yeah, that is literally this.
And then you're stuck running from it for the rest of your life unless you give it to somebody else.
Yeah, that does sound like this. Okay. Yeah, I would have immense guilt if I passed that on to someone else.
Yeah, I couldn't. I don't. But then I don't.
Well, I mean, maybe I don't know. I could think of maybe one or two. Could you pass it on to
maybe your worst enemy?
Well, yeah, like, could you pass, like, if Ted Bundy was still alive, could you, like, pass it on to Ted Bundy?
I don't know. Maybe.
You know? But
then that would also mean you would have to, like, act like you want to be their friend for a while.
well, how long does it take to pass it on? You're like, okay, can I survive Ted Bundy? Because I know I can't survive this bitch. Yeah, so you sick them on someone or you run. Now, these creatures are really nasty and cruel. They're just kind of like the neighborhood nuisance. If they don't like people, they will throw stones at them.
Oh.
Okay? Yeah, isn't, like, that's annoying. I don't know why. That doesn't sound, like, I mean, that sounds horrible because I know realistically, like, you can stone people to death.
Yes. There
But-
used to be a way of
Right.
killing someone.
But also, it's kind of like, to me, it gives just like annoying bully kid vibes.
Just like, I'm thinking, are they throwing like giant rocks or like little like?
Not pebbles, I don't imagine. I just think like a rock that like you can hold in your hand. Like stones, you know.
See, that would hurt if it hit the right spot.
That would hurt if it hit any spot.
Well, also, how hard are they throwing them?
Well, they're throwing them from like way up in the air, so.
That's fair.
They would also haul men out of their homes and then put them to work throwing poison darts at people that they didn't like.
Okay.
I know, that's like weird, right?
Yeah, that's really like random thing to do.
There is a lady who actually said that the Sluagh would take men specifically from this location in Ireland. I don't remember what the location was. It was West something. And they would take them away and have them like shoot arrows at people. And she said she even knew some of these men. She didn't have the receipts to prove it, but you know, she said it, so it's there. Another story was of a little boy who is from Barra, Scotland, and he was taken from his home by the Sluagh. The creature carried the poor boy high up into the air and sucked the soul out of his body before dropping his lifeless body from where it flew, levitated, I don't know, from where it was in the air. And the boy's body was found broken the next day in the family garden.
That's terrible.
That is terrible. It's also terrible that it took the family a whole freaking day to find the kid in the garden.
Oh, and geez, yeah, it is.
Like, what took them so long to look for him? Like, what's worse, that the Sluagh dropped him or that his family neglected to seek him out for 24 hours?
Well, I just wonder if it hadn't like took him at night in the middle of the night,
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
and then they didn't find him until like the next morning.
That makes sense. Okay. Thanks for checking me there, Lindsay.
Well, I mean that makes most sense to me if they didn't have specific time frames in the story.
Well, this story took... well, you said time frames, like I assume you mean day, but this story took place in the 1800s.
Okay.
Now, the Sluagh are widely associated with ravens and crows because, again, they have black feathers and they look like these birds when they're in the sky. They're also associated with death, and it's believed that this may be why ravens and crows are associated with death.
Really?
I know that there are also like Native American legends that associate crows and ravens with death. They're like carriers.
Yeah, I have heard that, you know, you see a crow, like one crow is like bad luck. It's a death omen. I have heard that. I've never like looked in to see like where that came from.
But I don't know.
So I just wonder if it like is.
I see crows all the time and I'm not dead. So
I just wonder if it's linked to that. Like,
yeah, well, that's what I found is that they may be linked to death because of the Sluagh.
and do you know what a flock of crows is called?
Yeah, it's called a murder.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what a flock of bats is called?
No.
A cauldron.
Oh, wow.
I love it. I think it's cute. A little cauldron of bats and a murder of crows. These are my people. My people are feathered and winged. But yeah, so the underfolk, which is another name that I mentioned about these guys, were associated with crows and death. And it was believed that when you saw them, that your crop would fail and that your animals would die. Which was basically just like taking a shit on your livelihood.
Uh-huh.
because you got to think back then, your crop was going to get you through the year.
Right. That what you could do in the summer, like, determined how well you, like, persevered in the winter.
Right. And that goes for the animals, too. You know, animals were for trade. They weren't just for eating. They were for trade. You know, they were for clothing. And, you know, you'd use the wool to make different things. So it's essentially, it means death. These things bring death. Now, something interesting that I found was that, you remember I said these guys were drawn to heartbreak?
Yes.
Edgar Allan Poe's story, The Raven, may have been based on the Sluagh,
Really?
which I think is really interesting, and it makes more sense than I mean, I know ravens can talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they mimic voices.
Right. But given the context of the story, like, really, it makes more sense for that to be a Sluagh.
Yeah.
The guy's heartbroken, like, devastated to the point of insanity, basically.
Right.
And there is this winged creature, this terrible winged creature that is taunting him in his window. And I feel like I haven't read it in a long time. When I hear the word dreary, though, it makes me think of storming.
Yeah, I think of when I say dreary, it's either like cloudy outside, like
Rainy.
actively raining, or a thunderstorm is rolling in.
So, to me, the Raven being about the Sluagh, that makes sense. And that also makes me want to go back and reread it and see kind of what, you know, how I perceive it now. Because it's like listening to a song in one context, but then, like, you hear another, like, idea of the song.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
go back
like-
and you listen to it again, and it's like listening to a different song.
Yeah, it's like when someone says, "Oh, this song reminds me of this."
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
You
And then
listen to that with that in mind.
Right. Now, I do have a very, very long quote for you guys that was said by a monk, and it is as follows. It's about Sluagh, of course. The spirits fly about in great clouds, up and down the face of the world like the starlings, and come back to the scenes of their earthly transgressions. No soul of them is without clouds of earth, dimming the brightness of the works of earth. In bad nights, the Sluagh shelter themselves behind little rosettes, docken stems, and little yellow ragwort stalks. They fight battles in the air as men do on the earth. If denied their rightful, as they see it, feast, they don't balk at the slaughter of cattle, cats, dogs, and sheep with their poison darts. It is said that the Sluagh command men to follow them, and men obey, having no alternative. It is these men of earth who slew and maim at the bidding of their spirit masters, who in return ill-treat them in a most pitiless manner. They would be rolling and dragging and trouncing them in the mud and mire and pools. In the form of a vast flock of black ravens twined about with undulating shadows they came, the echoes of their wings being found in stories of ill-omened birds heralding bad times ahead. The truly broken-hearted might be attacked, or the foolish or unlucky might call upon them themselves by uttering the name Sluagh 9 times over and over, pronounced Sluagh, for fear you might say it yourself, perhaps in a fit of sneezing. Can you imagine just, like, sneezing that word over and over again? Okay.
No.
Upon closer inspection, the great birds look more like wretched thin shades of their previous selves, with gnarled talons like the blackthorn's bows for hands and feet, and wings of dusky smoke. And once they have your scent, let me tell you, you're in trouble then. If the pitiable mortal that has drawn their eye can besteer themselves, it would be well to get indoors with all locked and fastened, until the beating of dark wings fades with the light of dawn. Chroniclers of old have also wisely advised avoiding places of loneliness, such as dark forests and empty streets. Let a passing hunt might take a fancy to you. There is one other way to enjoy... It doesn't matter because it cuts off. But yeah. So there is one other way to avoid joining them, and then it, like, cuts off. But yeah.
Wow.
So these guys are scary.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
These guys are freaking awful. Now, I must ask. The age-old question.
Which is...
What, Lindsay,
Uh-huh.
would you rate these fuckers?
Ooh,
You always take a minute. Ah.
That's a hard question for me, I think. Because the concept of them sound very scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not 100% sure if I believe that they're real.
Okay.
I don't know, though.
Wow, okay.
So I'm a skeptical. I'm gonna say this is all hell nah.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hell no.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. We don't live in Ireland, so I'm not real worried about them like showing up at our doorstep. I believe, like I said, I believe in the Fae folk.
Right, yeah. I don't know. Jeez, I don't know. That's my thing, so...
Well,
That's why I didn't give them a truly disturbing, because I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. But
now, based on their looks, I'd have to give them an eldritch abomination. But, you know. Awkward silence.
Is that all you had? What, is that all you had?
That's all I have tonight, unfortunately. Yeah, it was a little shorter, but like I said, these guys, the information is pretty clean cut. It's pretty clear. These guys are nasty little nasties, and you don't want to run into one, but they're really easy to research. So, yeah.
And from the sounds of it, they're pretty easy to keep away, as long as you don't end up stuck with one, because then you're stuck with one.
The Rougarou was easier to keep away, I think.
Yeah, that's
You just put the colander outside.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, so that is the Sluagh, folks. If you guys enjoyed this episode of Macabre at Midnight, then stay tuned, because we will not be leaving again.
Oh, we are back.
We are back. And I'm having an awkward ending here, guys. I don't know why the hell I'm having such a hard time ending this. Good God. Why am I'm not segueing very good tonight.
Because it's been so long since we recorded last.
I think it's because I'm tired. But yeah, so don't forget, guys, to check out our show notes for those links into the giveaways. And, once again, we apologize that we have not been around. We are back, and we are thriving, hopefully.
Yes.
Well known week. But we will be back with you guys next week. Thanks so much to everybody who has stayed with us and continued supporting us. Thank you guys for your patience. If you liked this episode of Macabre at Midnight, remember to like, rate, and subscribe. And until next week, make sure you lock your doors, burn a white candle, and we will see you in your nightmares.
Make sure to keep your windows locked.